Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Sam Sayer, founder of D-Type. How you doing, Sam?
Good, thanks. Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey and what made you start your own business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today in D-Type.
Sure, yeah. So I guess at school, I was always scribbling logos, band logos, stuff like that on notebooks. But I was into art, and I didn't realize at the time what graphic design was. You know, I was always doodling, things like that. Went to college. The course I wanted to do was technical illustration. That didn't exist anymore. It's all CAD design really nowadays. So I went on a bit of a journey. I tried a few different disciplines in college, was getting bored and frustrated, and I realized I wanted to be graphic design was what I wanted to be doing. So I left there, went to work in printers, and then got into the music scene. So I started DJing and running events for a number of years, designing flyers, record sleeves as it was back then. And then that took me on a sort of journey, on a sort of creative journey through to working lots of different agencies around the West Midlands, Birmingham, Solihull, places like that. And then I took the leap, on that way. I picked up some of my own clients, some branding projects I'd done. I was always doing sort of a few little bits on the side anyway. And then, finally took the leap. And here we are, nearly 14 years later. So yeah, it's been a bit of a ride. And I guess as part of doing a branding project, that was my mainstay. We'd always do visuals for websites. That became more and more frequent. And we then took the leap to start building websites ourselves. And we found that back then it was the design house and development house, and often there seemed to be something missing in the middle. So we thought, how hard can it be? And yeah, so it was a steep learning curve. But now we've built a team. We are sort of 90% web, and we still do branding projects. We do facets around it, but web design, web development, integration that's our main bag nowadays.
It's like not a straightforward journey you've had, but obviously going into college, which was more like education, of course, but then you kind of cut your teeth in the real world, print works, DJ and flyers. So like you've gained like real world experience before you actually went into the business venture side.
That's it. I was born prematurely. My mum reminds me. I was always in a hurry to get somewhere and do something, try new things. And, along the way, I've been doing animation, videography, trying everything in the sort of creative sort of digital marketing fields, really. And then we kind of scaled back to really focus on what we're best at and really sort of push harder on that level.
How do you find the landscape of like building websites now in the age of AI?
It's not changed as much as they said it would. When we first start to see these videos of people creating a whole website in 5 minutes, you're like, oh, okay. But then you're using the real world tools yourself. Yeah, it's pretty vanilla. I still think interesting to see where this goes in that it's still kind of aggregating what's out there. So it's it's the kind of vanilla of what's out there. We'd be playing around with tools like Lovable, which I really enjoy, but you've got to still have a real creative angle to do something different. Otherwise, it looks the same as all the other stuff it's pumping out. So yeah, it went from being, okay, right, do we need to retrain to actually let's use the tools at our disposal. They've certainly helped a lot of processes. It's shortened down our time for experimentation. So we're using a lot of tools like Lovable, Cursor for iteration or proof of concept work. So that's been really, really good to get things over to clients, checking things out, exploring them ourselves. But still, we need to have a team who know the ins and outs, can test stuff, can check for security, can check for the up-to-date standards as well. So yeah, it's been interesting, really. I've done loads of playing around with the sort of image creation and stuff like that. Great fun. But then it's a funny one. We've really built it into our process in terms of what we're delivering. It's helped speed things up. But still, it's not something we can just rely on creatively. Certainly not at all. It can help with things, bouncing ideas around. But yeah, I think we still need professionals in the field to drive things forward. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I think that's like spread across different industries as well, where people thought when these new tools like Lovable for websites, but also other tools for other industries, they thought, wow, this is going to kind of like change. But it's actually, from what I see, speaking to different people in different industries as well, it's kind of just enabling us to work in a different way, like to use for speed, like what you just said then, to be able to knock things up quickly, mock projects and things like that. But it's actually using it with the person, using the tool with that and actually enabling it to work better that way, as opposed to what everyone thought it would be like, it's going to just take that expertise away. It's actually kind of like just working with the person. I kind of see that across multiple different industries.
Absolutely. It's an essential part of our toolkit now. I remember when Photoshop was making waves back in the day and people are like, whoa, it's going to put us out of a job sort of thing. But, again, it's a tool. It's not going to do it for you. It's going to
Yeah.
extend what you can do. And I remember, man, it must have been 7-8 years ago, longer than that, 10 or 12 years, content-aware scale that you could stretch an image and Photoshop will fill it in. This is a long time ago, but for us, in the creative field, great. I need that extra bit of space on that picture. I've got it now. It's little things like that you used to spend hours retouching. Well, that's gone, but that was boring. It's kind of, I don't know. I quite enjoy doing some retouching, but certainly things like that where you got to sort of fill in areas or get rid of parts of an image that can happen in a click of a button now, and that's just brilliant. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and I think people who are experts in their field will always rise to the top, as opposed to you can have a tool that does a lot of it for you, of course, and you could have a founder say and be like, oh, I can do this myself, but an expert in that field using that tool is going to rise to the top, as opposed to, what I mean? It's like, I had a guest on here before, he was Australian. It's like, just because you have a cricket bat doesn't mean you should play for Australia.
Right.
And
yeah.
I was like, that's actually so true. I mean, yeah, these are just tools. And if you have expertise in that field, you're going to be able to use that tool so much further than somebody who's just sort of starting out and trying to do basic animations or website builds, things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's making sure you're allocating, and this is something I got stuck in the rabbit holes of messing around with stuff. Before you know it, I've spent the whole evening of like, okay, right, have a plan, make sure I'm using it the right way. And if I'm not getting somewhere quickly, move on. And also just playing around with tools. Someone I know quite well, he's a sort of AI expert in our area in Northamptonshire. And he's bouncing from tools, he's almost sort of being the guinea pig on these things ourselves. And it's fascinating to see how they're kind of leapfrogging each other. ChatGPT, paid model for a lot of stuff. Then what we're outputting from there, we're putting to Gemini. Gemini's like, hang on a minute, there's loads of errors here. It's like, okay, so it's interesting to see how it's all going to pan out. Are the big guys, is Google gonna rule the roost still? Who knows?
No, definitely cross-referencing LLMs I feel like is a really good way of finding, is it actually spot on to what they're saying? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like having your assistant teacher write something for you and then giving it to the teacher and saying, can you mark this? Do you know what I mean? Like that type of thing. So it's just to double check it. But yeah, I do that with ChatGPT and Claude quite a lot, because I feel like Claude's really good at like writing the human copy, like writing in a human way. With ChatGPT, sometimes it can have all the right facts, but it just doesn't sound very like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, definitely, I think that's a good practice.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've got so much history with ChatGPT. That was the one that really made the move for us early doors. It knows me now, so it's for sort of, if I'm using it for content for myself, it's better at the minute. But let's see.
And you can use ChatGPT, obviously you can modify it a lot more by putting in the system prompts and things like that and getting it to know you that way. But yeah, ChatGPT is my go-to, but then sometimes I will just check it with like another one just to double check the writing. But yeah. So Sam, what does your role look like today inside DType?
So as a founder, I'm trying to spend more time looking at what's next, exploring different things and making sure everything's done correctly within the studio as well. Trying to do so much of the work myself, this the old adage, working on the business, not in the business. But yeah, it's sort of keeping an eye on what's next. And we've always been had quite a sort of consultative approach to what we do, but sort of building more and more of that into it. We can deliver any sort of facet of web design, web development, looking more at building the expertise or being sort of known for the expertise, I suppose, which we've got. We're all experts in the team. Looking at the more experimental projects is something got an eye on at the minute.
And do you find that more enjoyable than what you were doing before, sort of when you were working in the business, not on the business? Do you find this more enjoyable?
Yes and no. Like, I was a serial producer, creator. I liked looking back at my week and think I've done this, this, and this. I see that less now because I tend to work on bigger projects that are over months and it's all speculative things. So sometimes these things don't ever get finished. It's an experiment and that's that. So it's interesting. It ticks the box for my sort of curiosity, my exploration sort of side. But I still do some smaller projects to stay right. I've still achieved things over the week or over the month.
No, definitely. It's definitely a change for founders as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's totally different brain you've got, like outlook you have on the business as well, isn't it? Because it serves two different sides of the brain, I suppose, as when you're like doing creative things, but actually having to look in the future and plan out predict how this is going to work and how you want to be perceived in the market and things like that.
That's it. Yeah. And that's the, that's the exciting stuff too. But, I think I always like to keep one foot just in the studio space to, check I've still got it.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of creative people would hear that and say, yeah, I feel exactly the same. So I don't think
Yeah.
you're alone there. So Sam, what is working well and where do you feel slight friction inside D-type?
But what's working well? So we've got everyone in the right roles, and as a result, we've now we've been playing experimentation in the team, and we are hiring again to make sure we've got the delivery side covered while we explore different areas as well. So that's almost a bit of both that's been working well, but also it's uncovered where some gaps have been. It's difficult at the minute because a lot of the big agencies are shrinking and we are growing. So it's just looking at making sure we're making the right moves with the right people, and making sure we're still delivering what we need to day by day, but still got an eye on the future and pushing those boundaries as well.
So where you're hiring more and obviously other agencies are less, would you say you're relying more on, like, I suppose if they're hiring less, I suppose they're sort of relying more on like the AI side of things of how they can leverage and sort of hire less people, I would say. Would you say you're doing that, or would you say you're going
Yeah,
the opposite way?
I don't know if I think it's more that you have to had a big sprawling agency that have all different departments, and
Mm,
now they're kind of pulling back to what their core is. And this is
mhm,
something we did a few years ago, really. I think when often you start a business as a creative, you're all things to all people doing everything,
mm.
and then you figure your specialist area and push there. So it seems that's the way it's going. Certainly in the digital marketing space, of creative spaces, is that people are dialing down into what their core is, and then working with different agencies or different partners to deliver the rest. And that's
Mm,
something we've always done, really. We've always been clear on what we do, what we don't do,
yeah.
and make sure we've got partners so we can still deliver a project, putting different people in as we need to.
I feel like as well, like with people pulling back, I feel like it's because they don't need so many branches or so many different ways because,
Mm.
I think AI is having an effect where they're like, instead of like, so one person managing 7 accounts,
Yeah.
for an ad agency, it's like actually you can probably manage a lot more accounts with this assistance and you haven't been able to not
Yeah,
like
for sure.
what you said earlier, you can knock out mock projects really quick. Do you know what I mean? Which
Yeah,
would have taken a lot longer. So I feel like the speed is consolidating agencies.
100%. Yeah, yeah. It's just trying to sort of balance that expectation, because I think, particularly in the digital world, because it is digital, people think it's just going to happen like that. Putting a
Mm,
website live is not clicking a button. There's about 30 checks we do, and it's a 2-hour
mm,
process, right? So
mm.
those things are getting sped up, not hugely, 'cause sometimes some of them can't be. But I think one of the big challenges we've got is people expecting things to be faster and cheaper just because AI is involved. And that's
Mm,
not always the case. I think it's just making sure the boundaries are there and making sure that the value is still there. We're using it to increase value, not do it cheaper and faster. I
mm,
think
mm.
that's the balance, right?
Yeah, no, I feel like as well, it's agencies that think the way you're thinking there. It's like it's good for the customer because the customer, I want it fast, I want it cheap. You could have it fast and cheap, but it wouldn't be
Mhm.
very good. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I see across different platforms. Where people are like, I can knock this out quick, and it's like that's good that you can knock it out quick, but if it's not hitting the mark, if you're missing the mark with it, then it's kind of like it's a
Yeah, yeah.
waste of time for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, presenting creative for, 20, 25 years, people pick up on the tiniest details. If you use a stock image, not one of their images, like, well, that's not right. And they'll get hung up
Mm,
on that thing, no matter how good the rest of it is. So I think it's being smart with how you use it and how you present it. If we're building an integration, it's great to sort of show, here's the steps, here's how it can work. That's great because it's proving a concept before having to really get the tools out into the
mm,
code. But yeah, certainly with a more polished result, you've got to put the
mm.
time in still,
No,
for sure.
definitely. So, staying on sort of this topic, what trends are you seeing in the market that other people are doing or that is taking off?
Trends I'm seeing certainly in the web space, something that I've always got an eye on is just having a more engaging, interactive website. I think static sites, this is a static site is what you could use. To be honest, you've always been able to buy a theme or something or use a Wix layout for that kind of
Mm,
thing anyway. Those are all getting better and better. The trends I'm seeing are much more engaging and much more human content, actually.
mm,
Use AI to help deliver automated things, the boring stuff, the churn stuff.
mm,
Put yourself more into the frame as a human, and certainly seeing a lot more businesses really humanizing themselves in terms of having the founders very present, having the team
mm,
very present, because I think people still buy from people, so people still want to work with people, and ultimately you've got to be responsible for what you do as a team, right?
mhm,
So, AI or not, you're still delivering something and you've got to be held accountable for it.
mm,
So, but yeah, so I think the sort of authentic and human aspect of it, we're seeing much more certainly in web design and brand, having some personality in it, because there is so much stuff out there that's just churned out now, which is
mm,
great for some people, great for some markets. but certainly in our space, it's your differentiator is adding something different, a different angle to it.
No, definitely. I feel like that's one of the great things of what AI can do. Do you know what I mean? By
Mm.
automating the mundane, the
Yeah,
data in, data out, that type of thing allows humans to
yeah, for
focus
sure.
on what they're good at. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
building connections.
I mean, my Google Sheets game is massively accelerated as a result because I can do all these things that I really struggled to find ways to do before.
Yeah.
But that's brilliant. That gives me more time to focus on the creative side. So yeah,
Mm.
it's all good.
Yeah, definitely. And with, founder people buying from people and putting the founders with their story is more engaging because humans crave this. Do you know what I mean? They crave
Yeah,
that communication, that connection. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
they have AI. Yeah, it can take that away, but it also can enhance that if you use it for everything else. So we can focus on that one thing. I often say the human brain isn't meant to be like a filing cabinet, like a
exactly.
data entry. It's not meant to be like that. It's meant to be like, okay, if we can get AI just to take all that away, and then we can
Yeah,
focus on the creative, the connections, the communications. I feel like, especially when people are trying to buy from you or invest in you or go with your company, I feel like
yeah.
if you can make that connection early, from a website or from an email after they sign up, them type of things, people are going to be so much more, they're more invested, I would say.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, we're using AI to do first QA on things. We're doing it for basic sense checks, through things. It's freeing us up to do more of the creative things, more of the things that make a difference. So,
Hmm.
yeah. And I think, it's taken a while to get there. We're still experimenting, trying different things. But yeah, certainly my vision is if it gives us the time back to really focus on our craft, that's the magic for me. Yeah.
So Sam, could you walk me through your client acquisition process? So like, how do you gain clients?
To be honest, it's mostly through word of mouth referrals, but also LinkedIn as well, being in different spaces. We've, always done sort of digital marketing over the years, but particularly in where we're heading, what we're doing, specializing in more areas, it is getting to know people and being seen in the right spaces. So in the last 18 months, we've really ramped up our marketing. Certainly my LinkedIn presence we've really pushed on that. Again, we've shifted it from the company to the founder.
Mm.
So puts more pressure on me, but I actually like, I like getting out, going to meetings, going to business networking, things like that. So yeah, still very much sort of in person in some
Mm.
ways. However, we have done a lot of automations in terms of connections, things like that. So we are reaching different audiences quicker. So that's
Mhm.
been really helping. So we've tried a few different tools this year, and next year looking to refine that and look at different niches there. So making the connections, we're automating, but then
Mhm.
it's about what I'm producing, what we're putting out there as myself on LinkedIn primarily. Really, that's my sort of playground really in terms of where you can see what I'm up to, what I've been doing.
No, definitely, especially if you can automate the connections and like the first message, I feel like
Yeah.
is like it takes a weight off your shoulders because
Mm.
being able to sit on LinkedIn and connect with 25 people each day and write the first message when
Yeah.
a lot of the time you're not going to get a message back off, what I
Mm.
mean? That's why it's good to automate that part of it. Would you say so? It's like kind of like content marketing is like how you're gaining leads, sort of thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Mm.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I'm here, there, everywhere doing all sorts of things, actually documenting it, putting it out there. That's
Yeah.
been a big difference what we're doing. There's something that really stuck with me. I can't remember if it's from college days or not. Some sort of thing, if you do great work, the money will follow. It's not the case anymore. You've got to be out there. You've got to be visible. You've got to be in many places you can. Particularly with AI tools, we're able to reach more spaces.
Mm.
We are threading things together to have stuff on TikTok, stuff on Instagram, stuff on LinkedIn. It's getting the content out there and content that's engaging, not just something we haven't just pumped out a content plan and rolled that out. We've really dug deep into what is it our clients or prospects want, what do they want to see, what do they want to hear, what do they need to know, what problems they've got. So it's making sure the content is personal enough to be out there that people can relate to. That's I think the key for us.
So definitely. Would you say, with referrals and the content marketing at the minute, you're getting like a predictable lead flow month to month?
Yes, we are at the minute. Yeah. Yeah. And now looking at how we dial those up in different areas as well. So I think certainly this year we've been able to experiment more and faster with different things to see results. I think with marketing, you've got to give things a good run, 3 to 6 months to really see if it's working. I've certainly been guilty of sort of flip-flopping around in the past, but ultimately at the core, the content we're producing is evergreen, really. There's some stuff that's tied into more sort of topical or seasonal things, but be able to automate getting that out there, that's a game changer.
So Sam, where do you want to be in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of business?
As I say, we're growing at the minute. We are looking to get a few more people in the team. I don't have visions of being a huge, boring agency. That's not, I've worked with them before. It's not been fun. I've learned a lot. But it's not been fun. But just making sure we are working on projects that are meaningful for us, that are enjoyable for us, and most importantly, that our clients are really getting the value out of it as well. So yeah, looking to scale up more, but really double down on the work we love doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so you want to scale, but you don't want to get like a big balling agency. So it's sort of like it's the quality of the people that you take on, I would say, as opposed to just taking on like the numbers sort of side. It's more like you're picking and choosing. I'd say this project will work really well with this person.
That's it. Yeah. And exploring more of the web app side of things. We've built some sort of smaller scale ones at the moment, looking to do more of that, because I think that really, at least for us on a sort of revenue point of view, that will help us out much more longer term.
Sam, thank you for joining me. We got one more question. If you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in your business, what would it be and why?
Well, for me, comms is the hardest thing. We get insane amount of inquiries. Not inquiries, comms from current clients and someone that hear from people for a while. It's keeping all that keeping on top of all that. So I think, maybe some way of really creating my own sort of truly AI virtual assistant would be fantastic. Maybe there's stuff out there already I haven't explored yet, but yeah, having a sort of a digital me to look after those inquiries and comms coming in, that would be a game changer for me.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time. Where can my viewers and listeners sort of reach out to you if they wanted to collaborate with you, partnership with you?
LinkedIn is probably the best place. Just search for Sam Sayer D-Type or head to dtype.com. Drop us a message on there.
Well, everybody, please like, comment, and subscribe. Send to a friend if you think they'd be interested in it, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Sam.
Nice one. Cheers, everyone.